is recorded. And I want to, I'm going to skip that. All right. So let me thank you, first of all, for coming to the CEE conference, and in particular this session. I'm really excited about this. And to have Christian with us, Christian Gilda, who is a professor of business at the University of Montana Western, research areas of management, creativity, and higher ed. So I'm very excited to have a creativity researcher. And hopefully, we hope that Eric Guzik can join us a little later. His university decided to go down for a little while, and that's what happened. So we hope that he can pop in. But I want to introduce Christian. And reading over the session, I'm glad I was able to be the moderator here. Fundamental conceptions about the nature of creativity that we need to reconsider, and linking the nature of creativity and AI in different contexts. So that right there really piqued my interest. So I want to thank, let's make sure this is recording. I want to thank Christian for coming in and hand it over to him.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that. And thank you for hosting us today. Really exciting to be part of the CE event, and then also to share some of our current work and actually get also some feedback. That's one of the main things that I hope to get out of the session today. So feel free afterwards, you like to raise any questions or start any discussions that might be even more interesting. And I supposed to have a second presenter with me today. Hopefully he can join us. If not, it shouldn't be a problem. So but let me get started and let me share my slides with you. See some sharing privileges. Can everyone see my email and everything? Yeah.
We see your desktop. There we go.
So who wants to do my work? No. Okay, so we'll park you down there. Think that should work, right? Then so you can see the slides, right?
Yep, it says the mainstream introduction of artificial intelligence to creativity.
Perfect. So let me get this out of the way a little bit. Hopefully I can do that. Here we go. Move elements around a little bit. Tuck them up here. Perfect. So okay, here we go. Okay, let me see where here's this. Get situated here. Perfect. So let me get started here. And so again, thank you for being part of this today. And again, our presentation is about the mainstream introduction of AI, or artificial intelligence, to creativity, which happened over, I would say, the last 18 months or so, where a lot of people got really comfortable with AI, and we'll share some of the practical approaches that we actually are applying in our own work, in the classroom, professionally, also maybe in the professional workforce. So that's kind of like a little outline there. And we'll talk a little bit about the nature of artificial intelligence, and in this case, how do our artificial intelligence see it, or how make sense of it, because there's so much out there right now. Then how does this work together with creativity? And that's that's a big discussion nowadays, and becomes even more into the limelight and mainstream, because creativity nowadays is considered a unique human trait. And how does this work with artificial intelligence? And then I will talk a little bit about some of our pieces of our work. One is artificial intelligence takes the towards tests of creative thinking. We did some research there, and we also did some recent research on if AI can provide practical solutions to things. And then I will try to foreshadow a little bit the future of AI and creative AI in this case, and also talk a little bit about how to integrate it into education. So that's one of the billboards I saw. I'm not exactly sure where it was. It was either I think it was on the East Coast, but artificial intelligence AI came about. We know that really in 2021, 2022, it really took off. And you see on this billboard, or according to this billboard, how fast it's actually evolving and developing. It's almost, I mean, like if you think back about the internet, it was like Moore's law, like I mean, every like couple of years you were hard to get a really good breakthrough. Now we're talking in some areas about cycles in AI about 2 weeks. There's something new there. And the same thing is, like with the professional, the workforce, and it says here, like humans are so 2023, use your AI, your system support tool, and the IBDR is basically a business development representative or a person that prepares a client for sale, basically. Gets all the information, qualifies the lead as far as sales are concerned, and also prepares the client to, like for the company, basically, so that this actually the salespeople can pitch products to the client. And that's basically nowadays what AI can actually do. And thought like, like given the speed how fast it develops, that might be a good example here. So what will we be talking about today? I already mentioned that, the three streams. One of the things I also wanted to throw up here is think about the internet. The last big breakthrough as far as, like software or computers are concerned was the internet, the ARPANET, like the military installations, and then, like internet in the 1980s, development of the personal computer, but especially 1990s, early 2000s, internet became mainstream. Everybody was able to access the internet and stuff like that. And you see that also according to those developmental curves, how it really took off after the mid 1990, early 2000s, basically. That's when everything took off, especially in North America, in the Western countries. And then you see the latest developments here together, together with AI. It also has a pretty steep incline still, but it's kind of like a little bit tapering off in some areas because you reach a natural point of saturation. What is artificial intelligence? There's so many definitions out there, especially if you go into creativity, and we will touch on that as well. But what I try to do is throttle through waded through the literature and said, like, so what are the main thinkers, futurists, computer scientists? How do they define it? One of the things, a common theme that comes up is it's a machine that kind of thinks like a person. And I have to emphasize right now here, kind of. And this kind of you really have to define. And it would be interesting to see if you have some input on that as well. So as far as the evolution of artificial intelligence is concerned, just some main nuggets or main points to get to a common ground, a common foundation. We as humans, and like all the computer sciences, especially after World War II, we were always striving to create computers that can be sentient, that can be act like humans. And you see it, like in the literature and entertainment, like Frankenstein, Othello's The Greek Guard. Those were the first attempts, basically, to make artificial intelligence kind of like humans. Artificial intelligence really took off in 1956, and there was a summer research seminar at Dartmouth. And some scientists gathered there at this point and tried to figure out, can computers really think? And that was the first time where they saw some first inklings or patterns of, computers being really able to think like human beings. And that filtered or factored into the later development in the 1960s, like in machine learning and in neural networks, and especially strategy games. Some of you guys might remember the movie War Games or whatever. And that's, along those lines, like computers as decision makers, computers as, like assistants or support systems, decision support systems for human beings. 1970s, slowed down a little bit. Some of the prediction didn't come through. Funding didn't come through, and they pulled it back a little bit. But then again, in the 1980s, it took off again, really on a big scale with machine learning. In the 1990s, it was with the internet. It was, I think, I would say, like the last really big breakthrough in computers. And now we have AI nowadays and big data, especially, and AI can help us with those kind of things. So if you look at the more immediate evolution of artificial intelligence, I broke this down into like 3 phases, and most of you guys will remember those phases. The 1990s, internet came about, and then we had facial recognition, speech recognition, and decision support systems like helping us figure things out, like writing code, like helping us with decisions. Then in the 2010s, we ventured into deep learning, Apple Siri, IBM technology. And then now in the 2020s, we have generative AI, ChatGPT, LLMs, and all the other artificial intelligence algorithms that we talk about today. Another thing that I should briefly mention is what do we expect the impact to be on our daily lives, on economic, on our social lives, on our cultural lives? And if you read through the literature, most of the people say like that within 10 years' time, approximately 80% of the jobs, directly or indirectly, will be impacted by AI. And that translates approximately into 15% of the global GDP, and that hovers around nowadays between 13 and 15 trillion dollars. Keep in mind that approximately 25% of the gross domestic product, the global one, is produced by the United States. Just, like the manufacturing power and stuff like that. But, on the upside, it sounds like AI will take our jobs away. Don't forget, for every robot or every computer that's out there, you need a robot per person. So a lot of those jobs will actually shift. They won't go away. So think about it. We not necessarily might replace most of the jobs. We might displace them, move them someplace else. Get more skills, get different skills, different new jobs, basically. When you put this into the context of creativity, most of our definitions as far as creativity is concerned, we're looking for something that's novel, that's unique in output, but that has also value to someone or something. That's the creativity side. And when you look at the artificial intelligence side, you're looking at machines that can complete, link or solve tasks or problems like humans. And we have to figure out how can we marry those two spheres? How can we define it? And at the end of my talk, I will get into some of the controversies right now that we also necessarily we're looking at our work. So again, how do we define artificial intelligence creativity? Everybody knows the word clouds, and that's the same thing with creativity and digital creativity. There's not one size fits all right now. So let me show you a little bit about our research trajectory, what we went through the last, I would say, 24 months. First, we're trying to figure out, can AI be creative? And there are a couple of ways to do that. And we listened to the keynote today, and Todd mentioned some of the things. There are many more things out there nowadays. So first big question was, can AI be creative? Then our more recent work was looking into, can AI be used to deliver practical solutions, real world solutions to real world problems? And there have been also some interesting insights there. And the last one was, how does the future of creative AI look like? Um, some of the people that talk about that today is they kind of think like in certain areas of AI now we have hit a point of diminishing returns. And it's not that the AI couldn't do more, but we right now don't have the AI tools to go a little bit further than that. But that will be an interesting discussion. So let me show you our kind of first research work. And so that's what I'm sorry, was research stream number one, what I call it. And what we did is artificial intelligence takes the TTTC, Torrance test of creative thinking. Let me show you what happened there. So ChatGPT-4 has the ability to, generate like human-like responses, large language models. There were some reports out there like a year and a half ago that it scored in the 90th percentile on the bar exam, 99th percentile on some of the standardized exams like the GRE, GNAT, also some of the high school exams like SAT, ACT. And we were thinking like, what happens if we just submit something to the TTDC, AI generated or ChatGPT-4 generated responses to the TTDC and see how well does it score compared to regular human performance. So everybody in here knows that the TTDC is kind of like the most widely used creative test, like translated in 35 languages. Some of it would even consider the gold standard. Again, that's depending on what kind of uses you have for it, but it's really fairly standard, fairly it's widely accepted as far as like one of the creative tests are concerned. So what we did is in our experimental design, we submitted 8 ChatGPT response sets to the TTTC scoring team, or like submitted as regular submissions. And then we also had in-house control group of 24 human submissions, 11 males and 13 female students. And we also then what we had is basically when they scored the TTDC results, they also compared it to their in-house database, which at the time was like over 2,700 students from 2016 who took the test, basically. And we looked, especially if you look at the Torrance test, the dimensions of the Torrance test, we looked at fluency, flexibility, and originality. By the way, the TTTC, the prompts are very protected intellectual property. You cannot get it online or something like that. And that's true. So it's kind of like, like when you submit something to this particular institution or organization, it's protected. They do a pretty good job in keeping it, keeping it isolated. So what were the results when we submitted that? Well, for fluency, we know that fluency generated a large number of responses. AI, or in this case, the artificial intelligence algorithm, scored in the 99th percentile of all the responses, all the 8 responses, basically. They were like human-like, in some instances, above human performance. Flexibility, the variety and kinds of ideas that you submit, it was the same thing, 97th percentile. Originality, coming up with unique responses, like being in this top 5% of the responses that you can get that are really unique, really uncommon, also scored in 99th percentile. And that's kind of the takeaways that originality and fluency, top percentile. Flexibility was in the 93rd percentile, I think. But the more important thing is that at this point, it was one of the first instances where AI got close to human abilities. In this case, like the things like we define as creativity. If it's really creativity, like there are lots of discussions out there, but it seems like there's something going on there, something going on more than just being an algorithm in software. And everybody now sees that it has major social and economic implications, and that if you use it wisely, that it can really support your work, support you, and like it's broader, like a co-creation with the tool rather than being on your own. So that was the first work that we did a year and a half ago, and then recently we tried to figure out can AI deliver practical solutions? And what we did is we looked at I don't know how many of you guys have heard about that, the Future Problem Solving Program. And there's something called the World Solutions Challenge. And every year, especially for high school students, they issue a challenge. And the 2023 one was on artificial intelligence, what you can do with it. And they have to go through a certain battery of challenges and develop an output or like a final product. And what we did, we also submitted 3 entries as far as artificially intelligence generated entries are concerned. And I think at one point we were even able to ask AI to generate videos as a response. And those videos got actually also normally scored, and nobody said like that's AI. So when you look at the setup again, future problem solving, kind of like lots of parts are based on torrents, Osborne. Then there's a 6-step process involved in order to go to generate the output, and students went through that. Teams of students actually globally went through that. Generate a problem or as many problems as you can. Develop a main problem. Then generate many solutions to this problem, and also define criteria, rank those criteria, and then once you pick something, come up with an action plan. So what we did is, again, 3 OpenAI entries, and then they were compared to 7 entries of student teams. I think the challenge in 2023 used 23 human evaluators. And so those entries were scored at least, I think, 3 times. And it was the same with the AI. And we'll see what happened there. Another thing that we also, we're focusing on with this work was, at this point, we have a lot of evidence that, let's see, where do we have that? That leads us to divergent thinking. Seems like that AI is pretty solid on divergent thinking, but there's not too much work out there as far as convergent thinking is concerned, and that was also one of our focus points with this particular work. So again, these are some details as far as the competition or challenge is concerned. They had to generate an abstract of 150 words, and then the action plan was a match of 1,000 words. And here you see different scoring dimensions. It was effectiveness, impact, humaneness, creative strength, and then how developed was your action plan. And then also they used the scoring people or the evaluators use some quality terms to qualify the feedback or qualify or like score kind of all of those booklets or score all of those like submissions, and they ranged from exemplary to developing. And it was also good to see that you got some written feedback or qualitative feedback there. So what are some of the conclusions there? We saw that AI in this particular instance where we talk about real world challenges, how can you use AI in your professional life nowadays? And looking at what teams of students came up with, AI was on par with those teams.
Hmm.
And when you break it down into dimensions, you see that AI was in the top scoring, bracket in effectiveness, impact, humaneness, the action plan. So what this means is basically that, it seems like AI can really deliver real world solutions to problems like climate change, like like in this case, using new technologies in professional life. And that kind of impacts also our thinking about education, but also training programs. So how can we incorporate this AI tool and make it work for our classroom, but also, like in our professional life? So that was kind of the latest one that we and now, like we're looking into, so how does this future of creative AI looks like? And I did some I did some digging there. Let's see here. I did some digging here, and there are a lot of positives, but also a lot of challenges when you look at the future of AI. And how does it work with creativity? First of all, we also, we also had some interesting conversations with um with creative greats like Mark Ronco. And there are different people out there who have different takes on the definition of creativity, and that's fair enough. But AI came into play, and now we have to deal with that and figure out, so how does AI factor into creativity? And some of the challenges that we observed is basically, so how do you define AI or creative AI nowadays? Um, and if so, are we talking about the same kind of creativity? Are we talking about just different elements of creativity, like the creative process, like the creative dimensions for certain definitions and something like that? So that's, that's a conversation that's right now ramping up. Some of the other challenges, some of the more big picture challenges that are out there with AI and creativity are practical challenges, the technology, like where does the technology go? Then we see it, like nowadays, especially in schools, in certain Western countries, legal challenges, then integrity, um, there's not enough regulation there. Whereas we have to be careful with that because if you look at some of the regulation that will come into place, especially in the European Union, they seem to be more restrictive about the use of AI and how it can be deployed in education and in the professional workforce. Um, Privacy concerns, AI has the power to get a lot of information, and that can be used for good and for evil. And also, like how do people take AI and like how do they commercialize it nowadays? And what I mean with that is, up to this point we had ChatGPT, we had OpenAI, and OpenAI was investing tens of millions, even not even maybe hundreds of millions of dollars developing ChatGPT, the algorithm, but also, to advance it. And like it was like 2 or 3 months ago, DeepSeek came onto the scene and said, like, we did the same thing for what was it, like $6 million. So that kind of disrupts the entire industry, right? So that's another conversation that we have to look into. Like, can you actually produce it more cheaply and make it also more accessible? That's another thing. The accessibility of this tool doesn't mean that if we have AI that everyone can enjoy it, especially a lot of our students, if they don't have access to technology because there's a paywall. or they don't have access to like the network. That's another big conversation to be had here. So these are some of the things that came up. So another thing that we kind of like encountered is did AI hit a point of diminishing returns? And we see this with some things, especially in the creative realm, where you can say like at this point, did AI kind of hit a wall? And do we now need bigger, more powerful models in order to do that? And yeah, that's also a conversation I will invite in a second. Another thing is also a lot of people might remember Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel laureate. I think he passed away last year or a year and a half ago. And one of his latest books was Noise, a Flaw in Human Judgment. And he also foreshadowed and mentioned AI in this book. And what he said is basically that a lot of the human judgment or a lot of the human scoring evaluation assessment is flawed. It has subjectivity, it has noise in it. And what he liked about AI at this time was that AI can kind of take up the noise of this, like subjectivity, judgment, it can be much more independent as far as assessment is concerned. Again, big picture, every one of us has to decide, do you want AI, artificial intelligence, to be a pilot, to take over a lot of the bigger things that go on in your life and do those and help you with those? Or do you want it to be a co-pilot, an assistant, and like that you train in order to support you with certain tasks and some things? So what I always say is like nowadays is like it depends on how you want to train your artificial intelligence algorithm. It's kind of like how do you want to train your, if some of you guys have seen the movie, how do you want to train your dragon? That's kind of like where we're at right now. So and I think like to leave some time for conversation and actually like look at some of the more big picture questions and items. I will open it up to the floor and see like what is the feedback, what are some of the conversations, what are some of the insights of the people who like participated or like attended this kind of presentation today.
All right, thank you, Christian. Wow. So you can either put it in the chat or you can ask a question. There's so much here, and I really appreciate a couple of things that I appreciate is one, giving us the history, because I think that's something that helps ground us to look at 1956 and then the machine learning in the 80s. In the field of creativity, you're always looking at, what is this new thing that's presenting either a problem or a challenge to be opportunity. And I think that's one of the great things about the field of creativity is we are more apt to say, what are the pluses of this particular technology, and where's it going? And both the TTCT, as you say, is the premier test of creativity, and you did the verbal, I'm assuming would be, yeah. And of course, the future problem solving program with Torrance as well is a wonderful. I like that you talked about convergent thinking, because so much of what we looked at is divergent thinking. So there's a lot of opportunity there for work around that. So I wonder if maybe I could throw out the first question, and that is, can you say a bit more about what you see as important with regard to some research around what AI can do with convergent thinking?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And you saw it basically the future problem solving sequence or like steps basically. And as far as you were divergent thinking, right? Or convergent thinking.
Convergent. What do you see?
Convergent, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So as far as convergent thinking are concerned, the main things we're looking at right now is what are some of the creative processes, how we define them. And when you break up those creative processes, and very often they have steps, like, is it, like design thinking or whatever, break them down. What we discovered is if you break them down and like scaffold them into convergent and divergent thinking steps, how do they apply to the AI? But also look at like what AI tool do you want to use? There's ChatGPT, there's the professional version, there's the new version, the old version, or whatever. But nowadays there are quite a few open source things cropping up, especially in mathematics or like the STEM sciences, and they can do some really wicked things, especially for um, convergent and divergent thinking. It doesn't matter. So, what I would recommend is really in this case, like however you define your creative process, break it down, look at those steps, but also like then see how do you want to define that? How do you what do you see as convergent and divergent thinking? That's that helped us a lot at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, in creative problem solving terms, if I'm looking at the formulation of challenges, let's say, or problems, we already have diverged with the help of ChatGPT, or whatever. And we're looking at making some good decisions around a direction to go. In other words, what challenge statement would be the best one? It would be an interesting way to look at it through AI.
And again, like the conversations that we had just a couple of days ago, again, this point of diminishing our marginal returns. What kind of C are we talking about if we talk about artificial intelligence? Is it the mini C? Is it the pro C? Is it the big C?
Right.
And a lot of people right now are on the verge of saying it's a mini C. But if you talk about the big C on like these explosive, revolutionary, like breakthroughs that take time, this quantum intelligence, we don't seem to be there yet. And you see it like, like just the other day, when you read through the standard medical publications, because everybody was hailing that AI can help so much in the medical field, like that it can do diagnosis and something like that. That some of the medical assistance that AI provides did some backtracking there. Up to until 2023, I think it was like 40% of the providers, but now it's back to 35 because they saw that AI, like again, giving hallucinations and making stuff up, you have to be careful with the tool. So it can be really productive in checking in people, like into a hospital and stuff like that, taking the data. But then really in like diagnosing things and stuff like that, you have to take that with a grain of salt. And I think a lot of people are there at this point yet. So it will be really interesting to see what's the next step in like, can we go a little bit further now, or what happens if all the data has been used? Because AI is hungry. It scrapes all the data, and once we don't have enough data anymore, what's going on?
Fascinating. Okay. Do we have any questions from our participants?
Michelle is trying to.
Yeah. I'll just throw one out there, especially because this is really fascinating. And I think to the average person, I'm looking at it a little bit more from the business perspective and application in the workplace. And when you talk about healthcare and the decision making, diagnostically, clinical lab work and stuff, again, the centralization of where is this being developed, or the collaboration between entities to be able to actualize it. And then there's so many different systems. Is there particular ones that run on certain tracks for healthcare, for business, for marketing, for finance?
That's a very good question. And, like, as far as, because, like, giving COVID, long COVID, and stuff like that. All of those things that we have to deal with now, and trying to figure out ways of alleviating this pain on our entire economic system and social system. I saw that some leading institutions like Duke, UPenn, Pearlman, they seem to be having some good advances there. I'm trying to keep track of those and see, like, are they really powerful tools? And if they use them, in some instances, like they have a success rate of like 95, 97%. I mean, there were some studies out there at Duke, but they said like they tried to, when people was calling into the system or into the medical thing, they were trying to funnel them and trying to figure out, did they mention anything, or did they diagnose themselves as long COVID patients? And if so, what can be done to expedite and help them? So like, I think it was between, as far as I can remember, between 95 and 97%, the system was able to direct them to the right resources and really save time, critical time, to help those people. If that can be done, like, and again, in surgery or whatever, that will be amazing, because that's exactly what we need and what we want from the system.
And it also, interestingly enough, Johns Hopkins and the University of Chicago, along with some other large medical centers, are collaborating with Apple to be able to use the Apple Watch to be more definitive with clarity on whether or not people are having heart attack episodes or AFib, and independent, again, 24/7, to be able to monitor a patient, but liberate the physician and really keep people, out of the physical building to be able to manage it. And then also the positive impact it can have on reducing the longevity of sustaining people on medications that maybe they don't need, because we can't tell exactly when these episodes are happening, let's say of AFib or murmurs or whatever of a patient. But now in this method, they're feeling in randomizing the patients that they would be able to have in a 3-year period of time. But 3 years, an answer. And the way you're talking, it's like, well, why don't we have it next month,
Yeah. And I think, like, the important thing is, in a talk to, like, especially in the Heidi app, we were really slow, right? Everybody was like, in the beginning, AI, what are you trying to do to us? Is there something evil again?
Right.
Everybody was taking out their Dalek things and, their stakes. But I think most of the community in higher education has realized that there's no downside to it. It's not a foe, it's a friend. And, however little or however much you want to use it, it's totally up to you, because it's like they said at one point from UPenn, they said, like, it's open source. So if you really have access to it, it doesn't prevent you from having access to it. You don't have a paywall.
Right.
You can do little things, but like, it's at your fingertips. And like, again, if you are able to train it, do what you want to do with it, I think that's amazing. And like, nowadays, but 80% of the high school students nowadays use it, and so like, well, we will ban it now. That's gone. This train has left the station.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, it's really, you realize that there's got to be teams of trainers that have the knowledge and the integrity to be trusted sources, and then again, the publications, how quickly are they, getting out there for others to be able to build on what your previous researcher had done up to a certain point. So it's interesting, very
And I
interesting.
think the good thing is right now is like, AI is at the point yet that people really don't use it too much for evil, because it's so new. With with Facebook, the internet, and stuff like that, and hopefully we can take advantage of that. That it's not abused or misused.
Yes, great point about the ethical use. So
Yep.
it is still up to us.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, that's like, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much. This was amazing, and I can't wait to follow some of your work. And in rapid time, it will continue to evolve and move forward, I'm sure, at a very quick pace.
Thank you very much for everybody for showing up today, and hopefully got you some nuggets, to really explore things, and
Yes, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I just put up on the screen, there are, tomorrow's sessions, but we still have some sessions starting pretty soon at 1:15. So I hope that you'll join us for those. Yes, so they're here somewhere, but you can all go to the website and take a look. And thank you very much for coming.
thank you very much, Sue, for organizing everything, and I think the next few days with the presentations, people are really getting something out of it, whatever it is, always something there.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some amazing. Our heads are going to be spinning by the time here. And thank you everybody for coming into the session, and enjoy the rest of them.
See you in another breakout room.
Yes.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.